Good to go?
Good- Yes, good morning, Coach.
Morning, here we go. So we'll clue everybody in. This is take two. Take two.
Take two.
We had a technical malfunction and now we are back. So we'll luckily
Yes.
we weren't too far in and we'll
No.
recap real quick because um you're in Washington State. I'm in Washington State.
Yep.
You're named Patrick S. I'm named Patrick S.
Yep.
And although you're not a Washington native, you've been here for quite a long time.
Yep. Since '88.
And since 88 and what we were just talking about, which is one of the points that I wanted to get to and find fascinating, was that you have a very, I think, unusual job, physically
Yep.
demanding job, and it's a something that occurs behind the scenes that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So if you wouldn't
Yep.
mind, let everybody know, what do you do and what does it entail every day?
Sure. I'm a courier for Iron Mountain Information Management. You might see our trucks going down the road. You might see guys moving around bins. They do secure shredding. I do document storage is a division I'm in. So let's say, like I said earlier, Coach Pat, let's say that you have let's say you have 20 boxes there, 20 Staples boxes, size document boxes here at your house with the lids on them. And that's all your past records. That's all your past work that you've done for programming workouts. And they're taking up too much space in the garage and you need them out of your garage. You don't have room for them because, you have everything else in there. So you set up an account with Iron Mountain Information Management, and you set up a time for us to stop by and pick up your document boxes. You have barcode labels that you put on those boxes that you get from us. When we scan those labels, that signifies that that's your box. It's connected to your account, and we come there with our hand truck, our truck. We pull out our hand truck, open it up, and we put your boxes on there. We put them inside the back of our truck and palletize them. Or if the driver's in a van, he puts them in his cargo van, and we take those back to the warehouse. We store them offsite in your warehouse for safekeeping. So
And
basically,
so,
we protect customers' critical business information uh, off away from their business site because either they have no room or they want it to be protected from fire, earthquake, flood, anything like that could damage their business. Because when those records are damaged, they have no business left. Their business is not their four walls. Their business is the
right.
information of what they do each day. And so we're worldwide, literally. I mean, all around the world, and probably every major country out there. And I'm down here in the Portland branch. I was up in Seattle for the first 20 years. I worked for them, and now I'm down near the Portland branch. And I've been here for 4 years, and we have 5 warehouses alone here just in Portland.
And is the typical box, like you said, like a banker box that would fit a typical size legal sheet of paper or whatnot, or is there not a typical box that you pick up?
Uh, that's the basic size box. Yeah, it's your basic, like if you're to go to Staples or Office Depot and just buy their what's called banker boxes.
Yep.
They're 8 by 11 by 13 with a lid that just goes on top of them, and they have kind of the handles that are cut into them. You can pick
Yep.
them up with, and but we do have boxes that are twice as long as that, um, um, and we'll really store off site anything that's in a box, clear down to clothing apparel that we
Okay.
have for some of the top manufacturers in the world.
Yep.
So we'll store off site anything they need. The weight limit's about 50 to 55 pounds, just for the safety of the driver. Because trust me, a
Mm-hmm.
55-pound box sounds a lot. It's a lot heavier than picking up a 55-pound dumbbell. I'll tell you that when you have to
Sure.
move it.
No, I believe
It's
you, but long
it's a
story
beast.
short, you're picking up and moving boxes all day long that weigh anywhere from 20 to 55 pounds, just all day
Exactly.
long, and just
All
moving
day
them
long.
from point A to point B, putting
Yeah.
them in your truck, bringing them
Yeah.
back to the warehouse, getting them off the
Yeah.
warehouse, and then tomorrow
Yeah.
it's going to be
Another
boxes
day.
all day, and then the next day boxes all day. And you've been bending over, picking up, moving, setting down for multiple decades, these heavy items.
Yeah, it'll go on 26 years here in September. Now, of course, it varies with each stop. I might have a stop where I have in there a medical file that's in a plastic package
Sure,
that
sure,
I
sure.
walk in their hand to them that weighs a matter of a few ounces. Or I could go to a stop like I had a couple of days ago. I had 64 boxes at one client site to pick up that took me an hour to do it. And it's constant moving. Putting boxes on my hand truck, rolling it out to the back of my truck, putting it on the lift gate, raising it up, rolling it into the back of the truck, putting them on a pallet, going down, doing it again, doing it again, doing it again. So whenever I
And
see that, I realize that's about an hour's worth of work for me to do.
yeah, I
Just
was gonna
that one
say,
stop.
after, you've put in your 10,000 hours after it's so long
Yeah.
doing it, that you can
Yeah.
analyze a job site and know exactly how long it's going to take. And how old
Pretty
are you?
much. I'm 59.
It sounds to me, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but a profoundly demanding job if you were 29 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
59, it sounds incredibly rugged. How has your body held up over the years? And is there a is how you're holding up, I guess, on average with your peers who have been doing it about the same, like, what's the wear and tear of the job?
Well, I've sustained I'll get some kinks like right now. My back hurts over on the side. I'm going to see my chiropractor today, so he'll clear that up. I have no curvature in my spine. It's straight. So your average spine kind of does this. Mine
Mm-hmm.
is this with some slight scoliosis.
Okay.
Bending over and picking up within time as those vertebrae kind of go the opposite way that they should. Normally, if you have a normal curvature, by the time you bend over, they're flat. With me, the moment I bend, they bow. So
Hmm.
it puts a lot more stress on those. I've probably dealt with yeah, like my back hurts now because of a couple of days ago. It was just a daunting 3 days in a row, and within time, it was just like I came in yesterday morning to do the day before's workout, and just to try and get through 7 rounds of one Turkish get up and 5 kettlebell snatches, and then the other arm.
Mm-hmm.
I was dead. I was dead, but I realized that I have to move because movement is medicine, and it
Yeah.
helps me stay overall fit. Um, but I've never dealt with any. The only injuries I've ever dealt with him, and it really wasn't injuries, but it was when I first started working for Iron Mountain. After about a couple of weeks of getting into working for them, from bending over in the back of a van and moving hundreds of boxes a day, literally hundreds of boxes a day, my lower back was killing me. I mean, it was just aching, and I took a week off for for to see the chiropractor a couple times and have some massage done. And I came back, and at the time I wasn't working out at all, so I was basically your sedentary 30 33 at the time. Um, yeah, back in 98, yes, I was 33. I was basically a sedentary guy doing hard physical work. And
Hmm.
my back after 2 weeks was like, nope, we're done. And so when I came back, I told my boss, I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, but I need a job. And so he moved me over to a different division of the company that wasn't near as physically demanding. My hours changed, but at least it wasn't as physically demanding. And then once I started doing CrossFit back when I was 49, that's what really helped me because I realized that I needed to be holistically strong. And the
Right.
problem
Okay.
is with doing what I do, all you do is bend over and pick up. So you have all these other structural weaknesses in your body because all you're doing is basically picking heavy objects off the ground all day long. So your core is not strong, your quads aren't strong, your upper body in the front is not strong because all you're doing is just picking up and moving. And so CrossFit has been a non-negotiable staple in my life to keep me healthy enough where I don't get injured on the job. Not that I don't deal with little kinks
Man,
here and there, but it
I
keeps me
mean,
healthy.
I would have to think that that occupation, the amount of workers' comps claims are probably through the roof, of people straining something, tearing something, dropped it on my foot, something happened with the hand cart, slipped in the rain, and I mean, like, it's got to be crazy. But people would hear about your job and think, there's no way in the world this guy needs to work out. Like, he's got to be
Yeah.
exhausted. He probably needs rest. Working out is probably counterproductive. But you're saying that's not the case. It's actually
No.
mission critical.
Oh, it's absolutely, yeah. I mean, the one thing I like about doing like odd object work is, I love sandbags and D-balls, is it forces your body to use more musculature to pick up an odd object than it does for you to pick up a couple of dumbbells. I mean, you're having to get underneath and grasp that and lift it and bring it up. So you're using a lot more musculature, which helps me to kind of stay overall stronger than probably with a barbell. And I can't do barbell work anymore because every time I do it, my lower back hurts. So I can't
Hmm.
squat anymore. I can't deadlift anymore. And as a former competitive powerlifter, that was a really hard pill for me to swallow, to realize that I had to completely abandon what I love doing. But my goal is longevity. My goal is to stay as healthy for as long as I can.
I think that's a fantastic goal. There's two things there I want to chat about, which is number one, based upon what you just said that you can't do
Yeah.
with regards to movement selection. So many people would probably take that as a valid reason to not work out, but you have actually become a master of modifying things, scaling as needed. I understand the intent of the workout. Here's what I can do. This is my workout for today. Was that uh did you just have that intuition? Was that a process that just through being consistent, you became better and better and better at figuring out what, you look at the workout of the day and then you create your version.
Kind of both. I mean, well, scaling, my former coach Jesse Ward, as you're
Oh
familiar
yeah,
with,
Jesse's a
up
good
in
bug.
Linwood CrossFit. Yep, that was the first CrossFit gym I joined, and from the very first workout I did there, he scaled me down
Mm,
in volume, and from there, whenever I came in, if I had any kinks, if I had any injuries at all, they would learn how to modify the workout around where I could do it and still get my workout in for the day. And then from there in here, it was just, getting inventive. Maybe someday you have heavy squats. Maybe it's a 5x5 squat day, and I look at the workout for the limited equipment option, and I say, you know what? I feel like doing sandbag squats today. It's just what
hmm
sounds like fun. It's just for variance. Instead of always grabbing dumbbells, I have other options, and sometimes I'll do the limited equipment option, and sometimes I won't. I
hmm
also look to see like when's the last time I did something, So if it had been a while since I had done sandbag bear hug squats, I'm thinking, you know what, I should do them again. What did I do
Right.
last time? I did 5 sets of 6s, 3 minutes rest. Let's see if I can bump some sevens in there. Let's see if I can somehow
Perfect.
improving it in some way, shape, or form. And if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. It's no big
Right.
deal.
Good for you.
The same thing with like sandbag cleans instead of dumbbell cleans.
That's the way to do
So
it. And, you mentioned that you were a former competitive powerlifter.
yeah,
When was that, and how long was that part of your life?
I started when I was 15.
Okay.
There was a guy in my hometown. I still remember him now, Mark Harbin. He weighed about 150 pounds, but he was in good shape and he was a good bench presser. And somehow, some way, he and I got into a conversation one day, and he said he was doing a powerlifting meet, and I had already been working out there at the house because my brother had a weight set, and he had a good build to him, and I was a small, frail kid that was always kind of picked on in school. That's another story for another time. But so I was like the kid that was being bullied that wanted to put some muscle on, so I wouldn't be bullied.
Hmm.
And so I'd work out some. So, anyways, he told me he's doing this powerlifting meet, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, you compete in the weight class for whatever your weight is, and you compete in the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift." Well, I had never deadlifted before. I don't know if I'd ever squatted before, but I'd done some bench presses because any kid's going to bench press.
Absolutely.
And I said, "Well, that sounds like fun. How do I get an entry form?" So I got it, and here I am downstairs. I can't remember now originally how I did it. If my brother had adjustable rack bars on there or whatever it was, but he had basically your cement, Joe Weider weight set.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
trained for my first powerlifting meet doing deadlifts off the floor with the cement Weider weight set and squatting on
Absolutely.
my back. And went there weighing my weight class was 123. They had moved the meet to where the other 123 competitors in the area was a regional meet. Couldn't didn't travel to show up to, so I was the only one in my weight class. Uh, I got in one squat, which was 154. I did a 121 bench and a 209 deadlift and walked away with a 2 foot tall first place trophy.
There you
And
go.
I was hooked. Now, little did I know when I went to the state championships that fall, thinking I was big stuff, that I was going to end up in fifth place, and the
Right.
guys that were there were going to be squatting in the 300 range, benching in the 2+ range, and deadlifting in the 300-pound range. And I
Right.
thought, oh, I'm not that much at all, but I loved it, so I kept doing it, and that kind of became my niche. And I went off. I moved, graduated from high school, and went down to college in Oklahoma City and joined a gym there. And that's where I was introduced to anabolic steroids.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
I'm fascinated by that, and it's very cool that you're open and honest and transparent about chatting about that. 'Cause I think people are fascinated about the subject, but it's rarely spoken about. And
yeah.
so I'm just curious, what was your experience with that, with,
Well,
performance enhancing drugs?
I had a roommate who was also a powerlifter there at the gym. And at that time, I had built up to about the 148 weight. I was in the 148-pound class at that time, just by putting muscle on throughout my high school years. I don't know if I weighed 148, but I was in that class where I didn't want to diet down to the 132-pound class.
Hmm.
And there was a meet that was coming up, and he said, if you take a couple pills of Dianabol each day, it will sure help you out some. And I said, what are the side effects? He said, you might get some headaches, but if you take some aspirin, you'll be fine. And a bottle of Dianabol then was, I think, $25. And so I took it and went to that meet. And then when the meet was done, I think I did an 8 week cycle, maybe a 6 or 8 week cycle of just that. I'm not sure how he set up the dosage for me, but it wasn't anything that was too intense, maybe 1 or 2 pills a day.
Okay.
And then when that meet was done, I quit because the meet was done. So I quote unquote cleaned out.
Hmm.
And then that was the 85 Summer Nationals. It wasn't an OS. Yeah, it was 85 Summer Nationals. It wasn't a national meet. It's just what they called it.
Sure.
And I think I squatted um, in the low threes. I benched somewhere around 200 pounds and deadlifted 402.
Okay.
And then I cleaned out, and then the 86 state championships came up, and I went on an 8 week cycle of Dynabol and Deca.
Okay.
And so he had me pyramid the dosage up 4 weeks and then down 4 weeks. So I think I took one Dynabol 1 week a day, then two, then three, then four, then four, then three, then two, then one. And the Deca Durabolin was a half cc, a cc, a cc and a half, and two cc's, and then back down. And I went there and got third place and did, I think, a 347 squat, a 226 bench, I think, or maybe more, and a 462 deadlift.
I guess out of curiosity for somebody that's unfamiliar with it, allow me just to ask a bunch of simple and potentially stupid questions, right?
No, not at all.
So
Please go ahead.
short answer is steroids work.
They do. Short
Okay.
answer is they do. Short
Now,
answer is, I think if you're not a pro, stay away.
sure. But
And even
but
there.
it's been said before, and you disagree or agree or disagree that steroids, while they work, they're not magic, meaning if you're not
No,
training hard,
no.
they're not going to do what they're supposed to do. You're taking them, you're training hard, and then from your experience, what was the perceived benefit? Was it that taking them allowed you to do the same training sessions, but your numbers went up? Or what I've also heard is it's not necessarily that, it's that they allow you to recover better, and therefore you can train more regularly with more intensity, and that leads to the gains. What was your experience? Because I don't know what the truth is.
I would say both, but my training cycles back then, the actual training cycle for a powerlifting meet was 12 weeks long.
Okay.
Um, so let's, you know what, shoot. I'm gonna send that to voicemail and
Yeah,
hope that
you
works.
just let it go. I can hear you fine, so you just let it
No, I'm gonna
go.
let it go. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. Um, so back then, and it's funny because when I moved up to Seattle, my powerlifting coach up there had me do the same thing. Basically, you would do 3 weeks of eights, then 3 weeks of fives, then 3 weeks of threes, and then 3 weeks of twos.
Okay.
So basically, your reps would go down and your weights would increase. The volume of the work I didn't change. I certainly was getting stronger, but I still kept with the same basic volume. So when it came around to what was it, 8 weeks out and I was doing fives, I would hit maybe two or three top sets of five, but I would pyramid them up to my top set, never being a max set,
Right.
because you never know how you're going to feel the next week. You might have a good week or a bad week the next week. So there was always a little left in the tank each time. So maybe it was a set of five, but I could have done six with it. Then I know the next week, if I increase it up by 10 pounds, more than likely I can do 10 pounds more the next week. And then it eventually goes to threes and then twos, my
Sure,
equipment
sure.
would add on as I went on. So I would start with no belt, and then a belt and knee wraps, and then the straps down the suit. And the last 2 or 3 weeks, the straps were up on the suit, and the bench press shirt was on,
Right.
and it was game on.
I guess what I'm curious about, and maybe there's no way to say for sure. So this is probably just, your best guess or opinion if you remember it. I
Sure.
think what I'm curious about, what most people would be curious about is what's like in your mind like a stark comparison. For example, at the start of my 12-week lifting program or 16 weeks or whatever it was, I was, let's just say for simple numbers, I was deadlifting 350 with the steroids that I took. At the end of it, I was deadlifting 400. Had I not taken the steroids, I think that I would have gone from 350 to 375. Like, do you have any sense of like how much it helped? You know what I mean?
Uh, I don't. I do know that once I went clean, that I was stronger clean later on at one higher weight class than I was when I was dirty and on them.
Interesting.
Um,
Why do you think that
but I
was?
but I also had a very good coach, and I think I was learning better how to eat, because when I was training back then, I ate like a college kid because I was in
Hmm.
college. I mean, so I ate the school cafeteria food, and so
Right.
nutrition to me was not something I understood until I until I quit cold turkey and went completely clean, and have been that way, I don't know, since 87. So I think I did a matter of about 4 or 5 cycles in the 2 years I did them, and the
Okay.
last one was the worst, and I quit because I the pounding headaches were killing me, and my blood pressure went through the roof, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
But that was going to be my question is did you escape unscathed or did you have some, bad experiences, side effects, whatnot? Was it not to downplay, but
Yeah.
was it just simply like these headaches? I don't like them. I don't ever want them to get worse. I'm stopping, or was there more going on?
No, it was just pretty scary when gosh, in 87, I'd have been 22 years old when I have a pounding. I think I was on Dynabol, Deca, and one of the testosterones, either suspension or Cypionate. Cypionate is oil-based, suspension is water-based. So I was on three different ones, still really not understanding how to eat well. So I was just thinking, why don't I just take more and get bigger,
Hmm.
kind of how the stupidity of it is. And one day I had this horrible headache. I felt like someone was literally beating my head with a baseball bat. And behind the school I was going to was a pharmacy. So I went in there and had my blood pressure checked, and I looked like I worked out. So, the guy was like, here's this kid, looks like he works out and he wants his blood pressure checked. What's going on? And on my blood pressure check, I still remember to this day, it was 159 over 56.
Okay, yeah.
And he looked at me and are you taking steroids? I said, oh, no, no. Of course I'm going to lie about it. I'm not going to be honest
Sure.
with the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know him. And that scared me to death. I mean, it was like, well, number one, the headaches have to stop, because I know if I
Mm.
don't quit taking them, the headaches are going to stay there. And they were nerve wracking. It was horrible. And so I went home, and like you hear in other cases, I flushed it all down the toilet,
Mm.
broke my vials, poured my pills down the toilet, and quit cold turkey and never touched them again. It was enough to scare me to where I realized, I might love what I do, but it's not that important. It's not so important to risk my health. And I was probably 5 or 6 weeks in on that cycle, and I was
Okay.
like, nope, and I was done, and never
I
did
have
it.
to
Just
think,
desire went away.
I have to think that if you're in that world of doing that and, going to these meets and attempting to lift heavier and you took, you know, whatever it was and you got a certain result, that then it's
Mhm.
probably very alluring and attractive to think, well, I took this. What if I took this and this? And then you try
Hmm. Hmm.
that. Well, that went pretty well.
Yeah.
What if we added something onto that? And I can see how it would creep and creep and creep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and before
Yeah.
you know it, you're
Yeah.
in a
I mean, I,
bad
I mean,
spot.
yeah. I mean, I knew guys at the gym I trained with. There were some guys there where they're off cycle. Being clean for them was taking 5D ball a day, Dynaball a day, and 2 cc's of Deco a week.
That was
That was
clean.
that was clean. Like
Right. Yeah.
they never went off ever.
Hmm.
5 Dynaball a day and 2 cc's of Deca would put me in my grave. I mean, that's a lot for someone who weighs 100. Of course, those guys were, 210, 220, 230,
Sure.
240. And I remember the guy specifically because I mean that's because we would chat. And so yeah, I mean, as there's guys, if they say if they've done it for long, if they say they're clean, their version of clean and what clean is you're off. You ain't taking
Right.
anything.
Right.
But they can't handle the idea of losing all the gains that they've made on them. So they at least have to keep a little bit of it in their system to sustain. And
Yeah.
eventually, that's why you see guys that are bodybuilders nowadays that are dying in the 30s because within time their heart just can't take it and they it gives out.
Right. No, that's absolutely wild. I mean, you've had such an interesting arc, in your
Yeah.
journey from where you started to where you are now. And again, I'm so fascinated by, how demanding your occupation is. You continue to work out, like you said, movement is medicine on top of that. Your ability to understand scaling and modifying and have it meet you where you're at. It truly is phenomenal. And you're one of the great advocates and voices in the Linchpin community, of which I truly appreciate. I'm curious,
Thank you.
maybe kind of, in closing, if anyone's watching this and they are like your situation is ringing true to them, maybe they're in a demanding job as well, where they're coming home tired at night and they've told themselves for years, you know, this is why I don't work out. Like, yeah, I'm not in great shape, but I'm tired at night, and now they're like, well, this guy Patrick Starks is doing this. Geez, maybe I should
Mhm.
try it too. So, what would be your advice to somebody who hasn't started the journey yet, but can connect to your story and it has a demanding life?
uh well, you're going to need to move your body for the rest of your life because if you don't, you'll eventually quit. Eventually you'll be the one that's 80 years old and you can't get up off the toilet by yourself. I never want to be that guy. I saw my father uh, have multiple mini strokes throughout the final years of his life, and at the end, he couldn't do anything for himself. And so, to me, my idea is if I keep squatting for the rest of my life, most likely I'll be able to keep squatting for the rest of my life. If I keep picking things up off the floor for the rest of my life, most likely that's not just kind of like one day I go to pick up something and the body says, no, I'm not.
Hmm.
It's going to continue to move because I'm making it move. Learning how to modulate my intensity from you it's been a game changer for me to continue to train 5 days a week. And like you, uh, I push on the gas 1 to 2 days a week at the most. And that's
Right.
difficult at times because sometimes you have workouts where they're interval type workouts where or it's short and sharp
Sure.
and you need to push the gas because that's the intended stimulus of the workout. And I'm like, well, I'll push whatever gas I can, and then I'll know that on the other days, like yesterday morning, I really have to ratchet it down. And
Hmm.
I mean, really back off, still move, but really back off. But you have to keep moving the body because if not, eventually it'll stop moving. And I know that for a fact because I've seen it. There's a lot. Even yesterday, there's a lot of care homes that I walk into,
Mm.
and I see people that are my age and barely older in assisted livings. Now, I don't know what their story is to get there, but in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking of my best friend, Pastor Mark's little quote that says, "It doesn't have to be this way."
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple, kind of like it can go over your head because you don't think about it, but really, it doesn't have to be that way. You can keep moving your body for the rest of your life. You just have to. Because if you
Yeah.
don't, eventually it'll quit moving, and then you're stuck depending on your family members. And I didn't marry my wife for her to be my caretaker when I get
Right.
older.
Right.
That's not why I married her.
Yeah.
I married her to enjoy being with her for every last day that the Lord gives me on this earth. So
I could not have said it better myself, and I can't think of a better way to wrap. You nailed it, my friend. So like again, thank you so much for being just a powerful and positive voice in Lynchpin. Thanks for what you do and sharing your story and being so honest. I truly appreciate you. And yeah, you're awesome, Patrick.
well, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done. I've learned so much from you, your programming. I don't know what I'd be doing now in the way for programming and a community that I desperately need if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate you more than you can realize.
It's my pleasure. People like you make the community what it is, and I will
Yeah.
see you online, my friend.
All righty. You have a great day.
You
Thanks so
too.
much, Pat. All right. Bye bye.